So, uh, this is today's topic, Scrum Master Role, and it's scoped in a job market. And this is my contact information in case if you want to send me an email or if you want to connect me via LinkedIn, feel free to do this thing. So, today's topic, I'm going to start discussion with the Golden Circle with Simon Sinek. I'm not 100% sure if I pronounce his name correctly or not. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So Simon Sinek is actually a very famous author and motivational speaker, and this is the concept he introduced, the Golden Circle. And my today's presentation is based on this Golden Circle, and I actually prepare my presentation with same structure. So as per the Simon Sinek, there are three circles: concentric circle, what, how, and why. And let's see first the definition which is circulated on the internet and Simon Sinek provided that is very much specific to the different companies, and then we'll see how we are going to discuss this in our session. So there are actually three types of companies, as Simon Sinek said. This is only a part of the definition, not a full definition. You can just Google it and you will see the full definition. I will just take the first sentence from all: what, how, and why. So what is basically every company who is doing the business, every organization, they know what they are doing. So what is pretty much like, it is understood, it is baseline, you can say. Everyone knows the what part. But not every companies know how they do what they do. So this is actually a differentiator. So if the companies know how they do what they do, then they are actually ahead of the other companies. So they are actually one status high. And very few companies out of that actually know why they are doing why they do what they do. So same is true with rest of the disciplines of the life. Like in person's life, they know what they are doing. Sometimes they know how they are doing, sometimes they don't. And very few times they know why they are doing these things. This is the theme of today's presentation. This is a structure. This is the way we are going to discuss. How we are going to discuss this thing is there are basically, logically, you can say there are three different parts of this presentation or this talk. But first, we are going to discuss a what part, then how part, then why part. And if you want to see from the Scrum Master's point of view, because today's topic is with respect to Scrum Master, then first we'll discuss the easy part. What is a Scrum Master? Probably you'll get this information everywhere. If you just Google it, there are tons and tons of resources. If you're just preparing for a couple of exams, the foundation exam, the basic exam, mostly cover the what Scrum Master is, what is the responsibility of the Scrum Master, what Scrum Master is doing. So this is, as I said, pretty much the basic and the foundation part. So if you are in this industry, then it is pretty much expected that you know this part. I understand that even professional life, I came across a lot of professionals who even don't cover this part, but this is the minimum level. Second thing we are going to discuss is how the Scrum Master is performing its duties. So there can be a multi full-length session on this particular portion alone, and I will point out some of the important areas, but I have to skip through this thing. Otherwise, it can be a very lengthy presentation, how the Scrum Master is performing its duty. Third part is very important for me. I think that is the most important part for me, which I consider that why it is there. Why do we need the Scrum Master at the first place? Whenever we are discussing with someone, I came across some individuals who actually know the reason of why Scrum Master is there, but most of the time, this is the difficult question. People are not able to answer, the professional is not able to answer. This is the question which most of the professionals, most of the newcomers are struggling with. Why do we need actually Scrum Master? So that is the theme, that is the structure of the Golden Circle. Yeah, is there any question? Sorry, Hamasin?
No, Zishan, please carry on. I think a new participant joined, so that's the reason we heard the voice.
Okay. And feel free to interrupt me if there is any question. So you don't have to stop. You don't have to wait till the end. So if you have any question in between, if you want to make it like conversational style, not a lecture style, then feel free to interrupt me whenever you want. But this is pretty much the theme.
Sure, Zishan.
Thank you. So before actually discussing what the Scrum Master is, let's discuss what the Scrum Master is not, because there are a lot of misconception about the Scrum Master in the industry. And the most common misconception I actually came across is about in between the Scrum Master and the project manager. Some people are very much confused. Some people are thinking it's pretty much like an overlapping thing. And some people assume that project manager can play the role of Scrum Master or vice versa. Some people is saying that it is just a subset or superset. One is a subset of another, or one is a superset of another, or all those type of things. So that's why I explicitly created one slide to clear all. The master is not a project manager. And there can be discussion on this one. What is the Scrum Master? What is a project manager? And not only that, what is a project manager and what is you? If you're looking for the Scrum, right? There is no such a Scrum has only 3 roles. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the dev team, Scrum Master, and the product owner. So here we know from the Scrum guide that the product owner and the Scrum Master is a different thing. So that's why I'm not mentioning that thing here. I'm especially mentioning the project manager. That's altogether a different role, and that is definitely not a Scrum Master. Both roles have completely different responsibilities, completely different interest. Scrum Master is not a team lead. So this is again one common misconception. Few people are thinking that Scrum Master is a lead. Few organizations I came across that lead automatically become a Scrum Master, or in a reverse way, that whenever they want to make someone a team lead, they make him a Scrum Master and see how it performs. And if he performs well, then eventually they will promote them to the team lead. So they were pretty much using the Scrum Master like a pseudo team lead. That is definitely not the case. I saw it a couple of times. So those are 2 different roles or 2 different responsibilities, 2 different interests. Because Scrum Master is not a team lead, so Scrum Master cannot order development team member. In fact, we can make it more general that Scrum Master cannot order anyone at all. Scrum Master cannot order the product owner. Scrum Master cannot order the development team. That is exactly opposite of the team lead and the project manager. So now the new people might be surprised at what the Scrum Master is doing. So they might be thinking Scrum Master is like a managerial role, or they will be superior to the development team and they are doing something cool and they are actually assigning the task to the development team. They are getting the status report, and it is not like that. If you are interested in Scrum Master because of these things, that you are actually ordering someone, you are assigning the task, you are getting the status, you become a bossy, you become a manager, then Scrum Master is not a way to do this thing. You should either select some other career path, or either take a look at what Scrum Master is supposed to do. Scrum Master is definitely not doing this thing. Scrum Master is not above the team at all. It is very common, and I actually performed this duty myself also in past, that some of the development team member assign the role of the Scrum Master. So that's become a part-time Scrum Master and part-time development team member. Sometimes I actually saw this thing also and actually performed that duty also, that one Scrum Master is actually assigned to more than one team. This actually happened to me also. Scrum Guide is not restricting this thing. As per the Scrum Guide, it is possible that the Scrum Master can share the responsibility, or one person can actually play both role, the development team and the Scrum Master role. Scrum Master is not even stopping these type of activities that one Scrum Master is doing that role for more than one team, but it is not recommended. it is a full-time job, and they have a lot of things to do. It is not like that they are just came in the morning and they stand up, get the status report, ask someone to do this thing, and rest of the day they just chill and they just arrange the meeting in the Outlook, and that's what he's supposed to do. It is not. I actually came across situations when a Scrum Master came into the office and the people are already there for waiting for them, and he'll be busy all day for resolving problems for the team. And at the end of the day, sometimes he even might not have a time to sit on his computer, or if he's sitting on a computer, he's just communicating with a lot of different people, sometimes inside the team, sometimes outside the team. So if Scrum Master has a lot of things to do and he has the additional responsibility like being a development team member, then you can see that there is not only the sort of conflict of interest, but as well as time management is comparatively difficult. So either he has to sacrifice some of the time for being a development team member and get some less work, or either he has to sacrifice some of the responsibilities of being a Scrum Master. If there is any other confusion, if there is any other thing you are thinking that might be a Scrum Master, might not be a Scrum Master, feel free to discuss with me. We can discuss that thing. And if it is taking so much time, then we can discuss it offline. So now the question is, then what is a Scrum Master? If a Scrum Master is not doing all this thing, then what is a Scrum Master? So this is just a short list. What is a Scrum Master? So things can go on and on. So these are the few things I just did. And I understand this list might not be complete, but this will at least give you an idea that what the Scrum Master is. So Scrum Master is actually on the process, not the people. So one of the major responsibility of the Scrum Master is to make sure the process follows. The Scrum process follows. To be more specific, the Scrum process follows. If the team is using the Scrum, then they should follow the Scrum properly. They should supposed to educate for the development team to perform their duties, whether it's related to the product, whether it's related to the process, whether it's related to the internal or external things. That's what the Scrum Master's role and responsibility is, to remove all these things. So let's take a look at this step by step, point by point, and if I'm missing something, just let me know. So we already discussed this thing. You cannot assign tasks to the development team or the product owner. We can help them to make their decision themselves. That's what the Scrum is all about, the self-organizing team. He can support their decision, and he can, if ask for feedback, for example, in retrospective meeting, and he can give the feedback as a team member. But he is not something like changing the team. If there are multiple teams, changing the people from one team to another team, assigning something to the team member. I think I'm repeating myself and getting a status report. It's the same thing, can be a part-time member, but it's recommended as a full-time, can be a part of the development team, not a project manager. It cannot, Scrum Master cannot prioritize any backlog, whether it's a sprint backlog, whether it's a product backlog. Sprint backlog belongs to the development team. Product backlog belongs to the product owner. So both have their own backlogs and their own responsibilities, accountabilities. Scrum Master is just very much follow the process, not the content. Scrum Master cannot cancel the sprint. So this is an interesting point. I want to pay a little bit attention on this one. So by reading only this statement, it looks like that the sprint can be cancelled. So yes, sprint can be cancelled when the sprint goal becomes obsolete. And who can cancel the sprint? Only the product owner can cancel the sprint. So if you came across any such a question in any exam where other than the product owner, someone is canceling the sprint, that's a big no. Even if development team is not able to finish any of the product backlog item they selected during the sprint planning, still they are not canceling the sprint. It is only the product owner's authority to cancel the sprint, and only if the sprint goal becomes obsolete. If the development team is not able to finish the product backlog items, then they are going to investigate the reason in retrospective and see what is the reason and how they can improve this thing and how they can make sure that this is not going to happen again. Responsible to remove the impediments and blockage. And this is one more important thing, make sure meetings are time boxed. I'm sure whoever is in the industry are very much fed up with the meetings. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One reason is they are invited for a meeting for no reason. They don't know what to do with that meeting, why they are invited. One more reason is there are a couple of people who have more knowledge. They start arguing a couple of things, or they start discussing a couple of things, and meeting goes on and on. So you are actually sitting there for no reason. Sometimes people are thinking, if there are so many meetings, then when I'm supposed to do my work. So I actually came across this thing, and when we saw the transformation of the Agile and Scrum, and this is the very first complaint we hear from the people that there are too many meetings. In Scrum, every event, every meeting is a time box. Some people might argue about the backlog refinement, but Scrum say the backlog refinement is effective. So I just want to put them aside and don't want to start a discussion about that thing. So it is a responsibility of the Scrum Master to make sure the team meetings are time boxed. So if meetings finish on time, then you already know that when at the worst case scenario, you will came out of the meetings, time box means that it can take up to maximum that much time, but it can finish early. For example, in daily Scrum, the time box is 15 minutes, but it doesn't mean that it has to take 15 minutes. If you are done in 5 minutes, that's good. So if you know that that is a maximum amount of time you're going to sit in the meeting, then you can plan accordingly. So there will be more consistency in the process and your work. So this is a responsibility. This is a very important responsibility. Most people are not thinking this thing, and most people are not considering this thing very important. But if you're in corporate center and your calendar is pretty much booked the whole day, then it is important to close the meeting, finish the meeting on time, so you can move forward for the next priority, next meeting, next work, whatever is in your list. Scrum Master is a servant leader. That is a very important point. So I explicitly put this thing in a last, but from the priority wise, this should be the first item. The reason I put it in the last because I want to discuss this particular thing in a little bit more detail. So what is a servant leader? Servant leader is actually, well, I think I put it somewhere else. Servant leader is actually not a traditional leader. Servant leader is serve first before they're asking with someone else. I think I created a slide, but the order is something different. Yes, this is the order. I put it in the wrong place.
Zishan, I have a question before we move on, please.
Sure.
Yeah, so the question is that one Scrum Master can manage or can work with multiple development teams at the same time, right? Regardless of permanent or full-time or part-time role. Like, is it's okay or not? Or one Scrum Master, one development team? Is this the scenario? Like, how does it work?
Thanks for your question. And the part-time and the full-time means it has nothing to do with the job of the part-time or full-time. Part-time means that he's part-time associated with that team. Full-time means he's full-time associated with that team. So it is recommended that the Scrum Master should be full-time member of that development team. And what does it mean being a full-time member? It means that Scrum Master is assigned to only one team. Scrum Guide is not stopping us. And I saw a lot of practices in the market, and I actually do it myself also, that being a Scrum Master, I'm assigned to more than one team. That is not a recommended way. Why it is not a recommended way? Because there are a lot of things you are supposed to do as a Scrum Master. And if you are a Scrum Master of more than one team, then obviously you have to sacrifice some of the things to make the needs of different Scrum teams. It is, let me try to explain it with one metaphor. For example, you try to hold a pencil in your fist. So as a full-length pencil, you can only cover part of the pencil in your fist. You cannot hide full of the pencil. So if you are trying to push the pencil from the one side, then the other side automatically comes out. So you have enough time. You have only limited time. Everyone has a limited time. So you can only do a limited amount of work. So if you are assigned to like 4 different teams, then you have to sacrifice something.
I understand that. But for example, if our team, one development team does not have that enough work or enough sprints to manage, right? And then we know that there are 2 more development teams in the same organization where the Scrum Master is appointed, right? So one dev team does not have enough sprints, does not have much work to do. So would that be like okay that the Scrum Master is start working with other 2 teams or start helping them or stuff like that? Because I know, and I have been working in an organization where one Scrum Master was actually working with 2-3 development teams. And since they said they don't have much of the work, one development team, once they are finished with a couple of sprints, and now the Scrum Master is he's kind of free. Now they appointed that same person to the other development team, and then they started working. So this is how, that's why I was asking, like, is it one Scrum Master, one team? Is it this sort of a role, or Scrum Master is an independent person, can work with multiple teams in the same organization?
Thanks for such a detailed explanation. But as I said, that it is pretty much on the organization. So there is no such a rule. Scrum is a framework that is explicitly incomplete. If you take a look at the Scrum framework, they left a lot of things how you are going to use it. So if you are reading the Scrum guide, they are not explicitly saying that there is only one Scrum Master, one team. But in practice, the things, how there are a lot of things the Scrum Master is supposed to do, that's why it is recommended to have one team. But what you said, it is very common in the industry. I saw it several times. In fact, the opposite is very rare. There are very few
it has negatives and it has positives. So, but yeah.
There are very few instances. There are very few instances when I say when a Scrum Master is full-time dedicated to the Scrum team. But as I said, Scrum framework is explicitly incomplete. Like, take a look at the Scrum framework. They are saying you are supposed to do the retrospective, but how you are going to do the retrospective, it's up to you. In fact, there is a final answer just on the retrospective. Estimation. The Scrum Master is not saying anything about the estimation. There is a whole Michael Cohen book on this one. Product backlog item. If you remember, if you pay attention, I'm using the word PBI, product backlog item. I'm not saying user stories or tasks, because you can use it every way you want. There's a whole book on user stories. So that's why Scrum Master is lightweight framework. It's incomplete framework by design. So organizations can fill the things, whatever is suitable for you. It's a minimum guideline they are providing. If you are taking anything out of the Scrum framework, then it is no more Scrum. If you are adding something onto it, then it is fine. It is still a Scrum. Like you are saying, you are going to do a backlog refinement every Wednesday. That is fine. You are going to do that. You are not doing backlog refinement anyway, because everything is very much mature. The Scrum is fine. But if you are saying we are doing the daily Scrum like every after 2 days, then it is no more Scrum. You cannot take anything out. It's already a minimum possible thing. Whatever is there, if you are taking anything out, then you can call it whatever, but it is no more Scrum.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. Thanks.
Just to add in Huma's question, that most of the time, even in our industry, this role is really abused. Like you can say that since she also given an example that if there is not much work in a team, and then Scrum Master can be assigned to some other team. This concept is, you can say, very misused, because the thing is, like they consider Scrum Master as okay, you are only doing few things, and since there is not much work for you, so there are few other teams, let's start work on this. So problem is there. Then the moment you start working on some other teams, this means your focus is going to change. Your priorities are going to change. There are some other challenges in some other teams. This means you will be missing the focus on your primary team. So again, the recommended approach is like if you are assigned to a particular team, you have to dedicatedly work on this. But since if you get more teams, this means you will be divided. Your work will be divided and your focus will be divided in other teams as well.
Yeah, in reality, it does happen, Mohsin. But when you're working in an organization, they feel that they're paying you. So if you're done with one team, they will feel like, oh, this person is like feeling idle. Let's assign him to something else. So they don't bother. Like they don't feel that their priority is finished or whatever. They just assign you, and then they're not bothered whatever is happening. Or so it's kind of it's kind of independent role, and it varies it varies organization wide.
Yep.
So yeah.
Thanks for asking the values. So anyone can just Google Scrum Master checklist. I think if I remember correctly, they will just find a lot of checkbox checklists that what the Scrum Master is supposed to do, what is the day-to-day life of the Scrum Master is. So I'm not explicitly discussing the what part in that much detail because, as I said, the flow of my presentation is not focus on the what, focus on the how part, the why part, because this is where most of the people actually have a problem, and that is actually make you differentiate from others. Like you don't know what the Scrum Master is doing, but you know why Scrum Master is there in the first place. If it move at the top, this one. So I want to focus on the why portion more. So that's why I was just going through the what and how, because what and how we can get tons and tons of information. We can keep discussing on this thing, but it is pretty much like you know how to solve the mathematical equation, and you know what is the reason behind this particular rule and why you are applying this particular rule. So we were discussing the servant leader. Feel free to move back into the slide if you're thinking that I'm next slide and the topic we already discussed, so we can discuss that topic again. No big deal. Servant leader. This is the very important concept. Servant leader is not a traditional leader. It is not like that in leader they are going to order. This is a very interesting way to express the difference between the servant leader and the traditional leader. I like this sentence a lot, that servant leader is most likely to listen first. Traditional leader is most likely to speak first. And here speaks means command. I'm sure all of you have came across these type of positions and these type of situation where they actually got some command from someone, whether the command is from the team lead, from the project manager, from the CEO, from the group manager, or whatever is someone who has positional authority. So that is pretty much like a traditional leader. I'm not saying that traditional leader cannot be a servant leader. Some traditional leaders are so good that they are taking care of the people first before ordering something. So that is actually, that positional leader is automatically a servant leader. So servant leader is actually listen first and serve first. That's why in servant leader world, servant comes first. So they serve the first. So it is something like, if I have a team and I'm playing the role of servant leader, then instead of ordering the team that, okay, these are the tasks you're supposed to do, I'm approaching the team in such a way that, okay, is there any way I can help you to make your life easy so you can perform these duties? So here I'm not asking them to do the work first, I'm trying to serve them first. I'm trying to help them first. I'm trying to remove if there is any problem. I'm trying to educate, I'm trying to grow them first. So that's what the servant leader is. First serve and then lead. Servant leaders serve other first and highly collaborative. And they are gaining the public personal trust. So if I'm in such a situation when someone is asking me whether he's a just team member, he's a team leader, project manager, whatever the positional authority is, he's trying to solve my problem first, then obviously I have a trust on that person, rather than if someone just came to me and assigned something to me without even knowing if I have the proper skill set, if I have the proper environment, proper tool set, proper understanding, proper mindset. Things can go on and on. So if without understanding my context, if someone is just assigning the things to me, then I don't have that much trust as compared to if someone trying to solve my problem. I don't understand the technology. I don't understand the business domain. I don't have appropriate tools. If he is trying to solve my problem first, then I will have automatic that trust. So servant leaders uses the personal trust. And instead of that traditional leader use the power, not the trust. They will use the positional authority to perform the work. I'm sure many of us came across the situation when we actually did some mistakes. So if we perform some mistake, then in traditional environment, we are actually afraid of the consequences. Servant leader is actually trying to make us feel comfortable, make us feel safe to learn from our own mistake. In fact, in Agile world, they're saying if you want to, if you are going to fail, then fail fast so you can learn. It is better if you're to realize you're not in the right direction in 2 weeks or 1 month or 1 week's sprint or whatever the iteration is, rather than just keep building the things 6 months and then realize whatever you are building is not important for the stakeholder or the client. So if you fail, then fail fast. You will know immediately and you will adjust your path accordingly and you will learn. So that's the environment servant leader is going to create. Focus on the people, not on the power. And servant leader wants people to grow. It's not like that. I actually came across these type of personalities, and I'm sure all of you came across these type of personalities when the people actually become afraid if someone is gaining more influence and more authority or more knowledge. So that is not what the servant is supposed to do. They actually want people to grow. So they actually lead from the bottom up. So it's not from the top down. They actually start from the bottom, things like the team members, and that's how from the bottom up they are creating the influence. So this is one of the very important thing. And this thing itself alone, if I only take a look at from this part, that this particular portion itself actually differentiate Scrum Master a lot from the traditional project manager. So now the second part, how? We are pretty much done with the what part. I understand we can discuss a lot more. There are a lot of things. As I said, there's I think a website, Scrum Master checklist, so they can give you like a lot of things Scrum Master is supposed to do on the day-to-day activities. This is the skin we go through what the Scrum Master is. Scrum Master is doing a lot of things. So here I just picked 4 of them. It does not mean that it is only doing 4 things. It is doing a lot of things. I just picked 4 pretty much like a big items. Some people might saying that removing the impediments. So I just consider removing the impediments and the facilitator is the same category because that's what the facilitator is also supposed to do. So we'll go through this one by one. We already discussed the servant leader. Now I understand why the servant leader side was there. Facilitator, if I just see the definition of the Cambridge Dictionary, that it is an act of helping others to deal with a process or reach an agreement or solution without getting directly involved in the process discussion in yourself. This is a whole subject itself. There's a whole certification on this one. There is a whole courses on this one. This is a full subject. How to do the facilitation. How to make the process smooth. There are a lot of techniques of the facilitation. Some of you people might hear like the active listening, mirroring, paraphrasing, stacking. There is a whole vocabulary for this thing. So obviously in this short time, we cannot go in that much detail, but this is one of the main responsibility of the facilitator. One important thing to keep in your mind, that facilitator actually more concerned about the process, not the content. Let me give you an example. For example, 2 of the development team members have an argue about something, for example, definition of done. And they are arguing whether this should be a part of definition of done and this should not be a part of definition, and or let me be more specific. Definition of done is not clearly defined. It is a bit ambiguous, and because of that ambiguity, they are not 100% sure the increment they created is as per the definition of done done or not. Right? They have an audio on this one. Now, what the Scrum Master is supposed to do? So, Scrum Master in this particular case is helping them to come up with a solution without giving their own feedback, without taking any biasness towards any team member. So they just go through the process. There are techniques in the facilitation. They're using that technique to help them to solve this particular problem. So this is one particular example of like there is a conflict. One particular example is, for example, there is a meeting, and I'm sure you came across a situation in a meeting where there is a person who pretty much like a hijack the meeting, who speaks a lot and no one get a chance to speak or little chance to speak. Here the facilitation comes into picture, so he will make sure that everyone get enough chance. And at the same time, at the opposite end of the spectrum, there might be a person in the meeting who is hesitant to speak. So there's a facilitator who makes sure that everyone got a chance to speak, whether they want to speak or not. So everyone will get a message that you have an opportunity to speak. These are just a few things I'm saying. So facilitation is not specific to only these things. It's like just like a conflict resolution, make everyone hear, make everyone comfortable. That's a whole together discipline. There is a whole societies who are just doing facilitation. And if you notice this thing, facilitation is actually more than the agile. So you can apply the facilitation, and that's actually happening. You can apply the facilitation even in the business discussion, even in the political discussion, even in resolving some conflict, even in the bidding the project. It's applicable everywhere. Usually I'm saying in my circle, whenever there is a human interaction involved, there is a facilitation. So you can imagine it is such a big topic, and it is such a important thing that Scrum Master is going to do. Coach, again, the definition directly came from the Kurdish dictionary, a person who is responsible for managing and training a person or a team. This is one of the responsibilities of the Scrum Master, to educate the people about the Scrum process and make sure that they follow the Scrum process. So they are coaching these things. And there's a mentor, an experienced and trust person who gives another person advice and help, especially related to the work or school over a period of time. Some people actually confuse about the mentorship and the coach. So coach is actually if I'm giving to the whole team, whole group. Like we are right now pretty much have this session. Mentorship is pretty much like a one-on-one. So I'm just, for one particular person, I'm guiding that one particular person specific to their circumstances, whatever is suitable for them. Because whatever is suitable for the whole team might not be applicable to one individual. So this is one more important responsibility of the Scrum Master, that Scrum Master is supposed to do coaching, mentorship, facilitation, and facilitation also include the removing impediments. So there are a lot of other things. So I just picked these four important because these four like a big groups, and the others can fit in this bucket. But there is obviously there are a few things I might miss, but I have to move on for the next important part, the why part. Now the important part, the why part. This is actually I like this presentation the most. Before moving to the why part, let's discuss something about the empiricism, Scrum, and Agile. Because that's how I came to know about, that's why I came to know about why the Scrum Master exists at the first place. So Scrum is based on the empiricism, and Scrum is one of the Agile practices. There are a lot of Agile practices. Scrum is one of them. Like Kanban is one of them, Scrum with Kanban, DSTM. There are a lot of Scrum practices, Agile practices. Agile is a methodology. They have a values and 4 values and 12 principles, and there are a lot of different practices. Scrum is one of them. Scrum is based on empiricism. So this diagram pretty much shows the relationship of these 3 concepts. Let's start with the empiricism, because Scrum is based on this one. So let's start with a small activity. If you want to do it interactively, feel free to do it. If you want me to keep talking, I can keep talking. It's up to you guys to decide. So we have a very important task. Anyone who is working in a corporate sector already familiar with this problem. The problem is task is to set the conference room temperature throughout the day. So if you want to throw your ideas, feel free to do it. Otherwise, we'll move on and we'll see how we are going to achieve this task. And this is actually, if you want to be a Scrum Master and you want to explain in your organization, in your team, about why you are here, why the Scrum Master role is there. So this is actually a nice activity. You can start with this activity in your organization for the education purpose, for the coaching purpose. Like, give them like a 5 minutes or whatever the time frame is suitable for that particular meeting to see, okay, this is a task as a team or as an individual, however you want to perform. You want to achieve this task, how can you do these things? Let's see how we are going to do these things. So, do you want to participate or should I move on? Mohsin?
Yes, sure. Zishan, I think we have to move on.
Okay.
And
So,
let me ask the participants as well. Guys, what you would like to do?
I guess we may participate.
Okay.
okay, so these are the couple of factors. If you want to participate, I just give you an idea, so we'll not waste a lot of time. So these are the couple of factors I'm thinking. Their list goes on and on. So you have to see the room size, current weather, number of people in the room, device that's generating the heat, capacity of the air condition, open and close the door and window. And obviously there are a lot of scenarios, lots and lot of things that can influence the room temperature. And your job is to make sure the room temperature is constant throughout the day, whatever you are setting. Where in Pakistan we are using the foreign centigrade, so whatever is a suitable temperature in centigrade is I think 22 degree or 25 degree, whatever it is. In US we used to say like 70 degree. So that is your project, or that is your things. And these are the couple of factors I'm just thinking of. Obviously, this is not a complete factor. Is there any way, any plan you can make to make this happen? Any idea?
Zishan, can you repeat the question? That
This is a question.
Yeah.
We have a task. To set the conference room temperature constant throughout the day, whatever the temperature is, whatever the comfortable temperature is. I explicitly do not put the number here. So whatever the number you are feeling comfortable at, 22 degrees centigrade or 25 degrees centigrade. So obviously there are a lot of factors that influence the temperature of the room, like the room size itself, current weather, number of people, how many people are in the room. So in the room, there are obviously it's a conference room, so people are coming in and coming out. So sometimes there are less people, sometimes there are more people, sometimes there are more laptops, more. Sometimes people bring the food in the conference room, so food is generating the heat. How fast the air condition can cool the things. How often we are opening and closing the door, that obviously going to make an impact. So is there any way we can make a plan? From throughout the day, we'll see we'll see the calendar and we'll see, okay, that many meeting and that many people are going to accept. Is there any way we can make a plan that will set the temperature in such a way that the room temperature will be constant? My answer is no. If you came across any answer, feel free to educate me. There is no way you will make any plan that will set the room temperature constant throughout the day. There are lots and lots of unknown factors. I just want to give you this example, the real life example, outside the domain of computer, to give you an idea that in a complex environment, the complex problems cannot be solved easily just by making a plan. Something you can do it, not everything. It's a complex domain. This apparently looking at trivial problem is actually a very complex problem. Software development is a complex problem. So I want to give you an idea about this thing. So there is no such a way you can make a plan in advance. It cannot make any algorithm that can predict that how many people are coming and what devices they are bringing, what food they are bringing, what is the temperature of the food, how the weather condition changes. There is no such a way I can make this thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think because the factors are continuously changing.
Exactly, that is the point. Because it's a complex world, and that's exactly the reason. That's exactly happening in the software industry, in the computer industry. Factors are continuously changing. I just try to make one-on-one comparisons. So that's how you will see where I'm going. So what is the solution in this particular case? Can we make a plan to adjust the conference room temperature constant? My answer is no. I don't know. What is your answer? My answer is no. Can we predict all the possible scenarios? No. What if someone unexpected happens? We didn't consider in a plan. Who knows? Last question is very important. Is there any simpler way to achieve the task? I'm sure all of you actually saw this answer solution.
We cannot make a constant plan for every day, but yes, to some extent we can predict, but that will be not constant. For example, Mondays and Tuesdays, more people are getting involved in meetings. So no, it cannot be constant, but a plan can be made which is flexible enough to be changed every other day.
I understand your answer, but believe me, it is even not possible to make any such plan in this context. The answer is actually simpler than what you thought.
Yeah, okay.
This is the answer.
Or
Almost all of you.
the auto adjusting.
Thermostat. Thermostat is the answer.
Okay.
And you know what thermostat? And you know what thermostat is doing? No matter whatever the current situation of the room is, they just see what is the current temperature, send it to the main unit, and they will adjust the temperature. And they will do it after every frequency, whatever the frequency is, after some times. No matter how many people are coming, no matter whatever the food is, no matter if the projector is on or not, how many laptops are there, no matter whatever the current weather condition is. Thermostat just check what the current temperature is and try to find out the delta. Like the current temperature is 62, you need the 70. Send the message, it means we need heat. If current temperature is 80, you need 70. Find the delta, it means now you need to turn on the air conditioner. That is a simple solution. Do not try to come up with any plans. What is going on here? Inspect, adopt. We inspect what is the current situation and adopt accordingly. This is empiricism. This is a simple example of empiricism in the real world, outside the computer domain. Honestly, I cannot think of any other simple problem for this particular solution. Whatever solution we are trying to come up, whatever plan we are trying to come up, that cannot beat this thing.
It means that thinking about a solution is itself a problem here.
I'm not sure if we'll go in that route or not. I want to be specific to the empiricism. I don't want to start the philosophical discussion. If you want to go that thing, then there's a discussion about whether the problem is empiricism or I forgot what the name of the other one is. But one school of thought is saying everything can be concluded from the logic. The other is saying that empiricism is like you can observe and adjust accordingly. So maybe you heard that story that I forget the name of the Greek philosopher, I think Aristotle or something that. Forgive me if I'm wrong, that they just claim by the logic, I don't know what their logic is, that man has more teeth than the woman. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't know what their logic is. So they are not even doing some empirical evidence. Okay, just count it. So one school of thought is saying that everything can be concluded from the logic, like 1 + 1 is 2. You don't have to observe this thing, you just conclude it, you just know by the logic. The other school of thought is saying not everything can be explained by the logic, so you have to see some evidence and act accordingly. So empiricism is like that. And I explicitly gave you an example, the complex example, although it looks very trivial, but it is a complex example where you cannot conclude everything from the logic. You cannot make a plan. So in software world, when you are creating a software, it's a complex world, it's a complex problem. I'm going to discuss complexity also in a little bit more details. So I want to focus my discussion only for the empiricism. If you want to discuss these two schools of thought, then we can discuss that thing offline.
Yeah, then.
So this is actually what is happening in thermostat. Inspect, adopt, deliver. We inspect what the current temperature is. We adopt how much AC thrust or how much heat we need to generate and deliver. And after sometimes again inspect because things might change. This is the most important key, the feedback loop. That's where the thermostat is going. And that's why I like the why part.
I think that's a very quick example of inspect and adapt. That's what we are doing in retro and in different phases of Scrum. The thermostat is a quick example because it's automatically doing it. It's inspecting the environment and adapting accordingly.
That's why I give the example that's related to the real life you see and you observe, and that's how we are correlating to the Scrum with this thing. And that's why I like the why part of this presentation more, because what and how you will find internet very easily. You will already know most of the what and how part. But why we are doing this thing. Now I hope you can understand and you can correlate why we are doing empiricism. Because we need inspect and adopt even with a simple looking problem for setting the conference room temperature. If we cannot do that thing without inspect and adopt, then how can we do this thing with a software development? So this is a feedback loop. Closed feedback loop. So this is a closed feedback loop. Scrum Pocket Guide, one of the very famous book, one of my favorite book from the Scrum. I picked this idea from there. So you have an input, yes, that is giving to some system, and whatever the output of the system is, you actually feed that again back to the input. If you see that output is actually coming back into the input, that is a closed feedback loop. So you are continuously whatever the output is, you again feed into the input and adjust accordingly. And we'll see how this will fit into the Scrum world. Actually, this particular diagram and the Scrum diagram has only label change, nothing else. But this is exactly the same as whatever we discussed in the thermostat example, the closed feedback loop. The one important point of inspect, adopt, and deliver is transparency. If transparency is not there, then we cannot do inspect and adopt. Just take a look at the example of the thermostat again. So you have a thermostat that is doing inspect and adopt, but you put a wet towel on thermostat. So it means it is no more transparent. It means whatever data it is getting is not a true data. What is going to happen? It is feeding the wrong input. So whatever you are expecting, it is not correct. It is not transparent. So what is going to deliver? It is not correct. If we just move the transparency out of the picture, we are doing the inspection, but we are not doing the transparency, then this fall apart. Can you imagine a thermostat is going to work if we shield the thermostat with a wet towel or the hot towel? Can you achieve your desired result? No, because your inspection is no more transparent. In fact, no matter whatever you're doing, inspect, transparency, inspect, and adopt. Most of the people remember this by heart. Say, if you ask, what is empiricism? So, empiricism is a transparency, inspect, and adopt. If you want to go a little bit more detail, then probably they are not going to answer. But I'm sure now with this simple metaphor of, it's not actually a metaphor, it's a real example of the thermostat, now I'm sure you can articulate this better. If you just remove the transparency part, it is not going to work because you are not going to get the proper things. Let's remove the other part, inspect part. So you have a transparent, you don't have a wet paper, but you don't have a thermometer. So gauge what is the current temperature. Can you deliver something? Can you achieve the desired result? No, because there is nothing to feed back. So if you remove the inspection part, it is falling apart. Okay, let's remove the delivery part, adoption part. So you have a thermometer that is worked correctly. You have a transparency, so it is getting the actual data. But once you get the data, you are not making appropriate actions. It is something like thermostat is getting the current temperature, but not taking any actions. Are you going to achieve the desired result? No. For the feedback loop, you need all three portions. If you remove any one of them, just keep the thermostat example in your mind. If you remove any one of them, then you actually broke the feedback loop. Then it is not going to work. If there is any confusion, just discuss and ask question right now, because it is a very important concept to understand why we are doing this thing, why we are doing empiricism, because Scrum is based on this one before moving forward. Otherwise, I will move forward. If I will just wait a couple of seconds. If there is any question, I will just wait. Otherwise, we will move forward. Okay, empiricism. So this is what I'm saying. Empiricism is a inspect, transparency, and adoption. So everything becomes like an empiricism. this is the same pictorial representation. So just I try to explain it graphically because some people understand graphically. Okay, feedback loop in Scrum. Scrum has actually two types of feedback loop. One feedback loop is for the outcome of the process. Outcome of the process is increment. One feedback loop is for the process itself. So that's why we have two different meetings. Review is for the outcome, and retrospective is for the process. Some people actually confuse these two things. Some people actually think, I actually came across in my very first role of the Scrum Master, that team does not have a retrospective meeting. And my first task is to introduce a retrospective meeting because they're thinking process feedback loop is not important. So you cannot hit the moving target with a stationary cannon. So if there is a moving target, you have to adjust it accordingly. It is the same diagram, just a label change. Feedback loop in Scrum. So Scrum, we are creating a valuable increment. We are getting a feedback from that valuable increment and feed it back again to the product backlog. So the only label changes from the system, it's Scrum. From the input, it's a product backlog. So that is what the inspect and adopt is. So we increment, we deliver to the stakeholder, get a feedback, incorporate that feedback, and move on to the next iteration. Directly from the Scrum guide. Scrum is a framework for developing, delivering, and sustaining a complex framework, complex product. Sorry. So now I'm going to explain a complexity in a little bit more detail. So that's why I picked this sentence. So now I'm going to discuss this thing. Complexity. There are actually two types of complexity described in Frederick P. Brook Jr. in his paper, No Silver Bullet. There's a link. You can see that thing. Essential complexity and accidental complexity. So essential complexity is the complexity of the problem itself, which you are going to solve. And you cannot remove that complexity. And that is actually the reason you're building some product. That is actually your competitive advantage. Because if you're trying to solve something complex problem, then you will be able to sell your product. If you're not solving any complex problem, then obviously no one is going to buy that thing. So essential complexity is actually important for your competitive advantage. But the other type of complexity is the accidental complexity, which engineer creates and fix, not necessarily for solving the problem. It is about it's emerged based on your own decision. So in other words, here I am talking about the process. So essential complexity is pretty much about the product. Accidental complexity is pretty much about the process. So you definitely need the essential complexity. Otherwise, you will not gain the competitive advantage. But is there any way we are handling the accidental complexity while making the product, while reducing the risk of essential complexity, while taking that competitive advantage? Scrum actually handles both. How Scrum is handling? Scrum is handling essential complexity in the form of products and accidental complexity in the form of process. And because there are two types of complexity, we need two types of role. Here comes the answer of why. Scrum Master to address the accidental complexity, that is process. Product Owner is to address the essential complexity, that is product. I hope I drive through the why part. I hope now it is clear. Why we need the Scrum Master. And whenever we are saying Scrum Master is for the process improvement, what is the reason behind this thing? What does it mean?
I think that's very very clearly addressed. Okay. So guys, do we have any questions? Please feel free to ask. One question, by the way, meanwhile others are thinking, one question, by the way, I have that the major part that we have about this session is the job role for the international market of Scrum Master, because most of the people, they don't know about that Scrum Master's role, because this is a new role in the market. So what's its scope?
Oh, it's a scope. In fact, I was thinking about this thing, and I was actually, I have an idea, and I was trying to include that idea. In the last minute, I dropped that idea. That is actually very easy to handle. And whenever I'm studying something, whenever I'm picking up something, it's very easy to go to the job portal, different job portal, not one. Go to the dice.com, master.com, careerbuilder.com. Just search that particular skill, and you will be amazed by the result. So this is a very quick check and very live check. So whatever number I am giving to you, obviously that number is not applicable after 6 months, after 2 years. So pretty much instruct and adopt. Just go there and see yourself. There is an amazing opportunity of the Scrum Master in all different domains. Not only that, there is an amazing opportunity for the Agile coach, Agile trainer. And in Pakistan, you have such a good opportunity that there is not a single trainer in Pakistan for doing these type of things. There is only one person who is actually flying from UK to give the Scrum Master training. As of now, I hope things will change in future. As of now, locally, there is not a single trainer from the Scrum Alliance, from the Scrum.org, from the IC Agile, from the SAFE, from the LES, from the Scrum at Scale, and things goes on and on and on. There is not a single trainer, not even the facilitator, not even the coach. So it is a great opportunity for all of you, even from the training point of view, from the coaching point of view, from the facilitation point of view, from educating point of view, from mentor point of view.
Okay, Mohsin, I have a question. Tayyib here.
Yes, Tayyib.
Okay, so are we planning something for the product owner, this kind of a session for the product owners in the future?
You are talking about a webinar or certification session?
You can answer both. You can take both options
Yeah.
to answer.
Okay, so for the webinar, then the answer is yes, because this is a series of lessons that we will be conducting webinars, and we will be covering all the aspects of Scrum. That includes all the roles, that includes all the artifacts. So answer is yes for the webinars, and there may be a different speaker as well. And from certification point of view, again, the answer is yes, but we don't have any schedule. Because again, the challenge in Pakistan we are facing is we need to invite some certified trainer from Scrum Alliance or some any other company who can come over here and give that session, especially from Scrum Alliance, because Scrum Alliance has a limitation that a person should be certified trainer, and then you can get that certification training. So I'm trying to invite multiple people to Pakistan, and hopefully, like we have done these sessions, Scrum Master CSM sessions in Lahore last year. So now in April, we are going to have 2 sessions in Karachi. I'm going to conduct that with the same trainer, Zia Malik, and in Islamabad, there's another session with another team. So product owner point of view, then yes, we are trying to bring another trainer. We are trying to invite him. So most probably when this will happen, that's not sure right now.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so another question, Zishan, from Pakistan's job market point of view, because there's a lot of people, they have a confusion that who can become a Scrum Master? Like what sort of person a Scrum Master can be? So I hope so that you have given all the details over here, but there's a lot of confusion I have seen because I have conducted multiple sessions. So people who are from the non-technical background, they think that the Scrum Master should be a technical person, and some other people who are technical or developers who they think that are like main strength, the development thing, this will be lost if we become Scrum Master. So these are the challenges they have in their mind. What do you suggest?
My suggestion is, this is the most important thing. I'm sharing the slide servant leader. If the person has this attribute, then he becomes a Scrum Master, regardless whether it's a technical or not. If person is a technically super cool genius and does not have a servant leader things, he can be a technical expert, he can be a technical guru, but obviously it's defeated the purpose of the Scrum Master. In fact, sometimes non-technical Scrum Master is actually better because they try to grow the team in such a way that the team will make the decision themselves, rather than team is always looking for some guru to help them out. It is pretty much like try to catch the fish and try to teach them how to catch the fish. So I can catch the fish for you only once, but if I teach you how to catch the fish yourself, then you will be independent. So I saw that sometimes a super technical cool guy become a Scrum Master, then the Scrum team is not solving their problem themselves. Whenever they have a problem, they always look for that particular person. Can you please solve the problem for us? So sometimes non-technical person is actually helpful, but regardless of the technical or non-technical person, if the person has this checklist, servant leader attributes, then that person is a Scrum Master. If person is, no matter how cool or how techy he is, if person does not have these skill set, then he should not become a technical Scrum Master. It's more about the people thing, not about the techy thing.
Okay, thanks very much, Zishan. I hope we answered many misconceptions that we have in the market.
I have a question,
Yes, Mark.
Mohsin.
Sure.
Zishan, I just want you to suggest that in Pakistan we don't have full-time Scrum Master roles most of the times. But if a person is working as a half-time Scrum Master, and at the beginning of joining of the team, the management is really supportive, but the team is not supportive, then what suggestions or tips or tricks can you provide to him or her to to convince that, I mean, it's not exactly convincing the team, but when the team is very I mean, they just have misconceptions about Scrum and they don't know much about Scrum, just because it's a process, just because they have from somewhere they have heard that the process brings transparency and visibility, and they will have to work more as compared to the current scenario. So what do you suggest? What should he or she should do in this scenario?
Okay, I have a couple of suggestions in this case. Obviously, this is a mentorship, training, coaching things that is definitely need to be involved. They have to make sure, they have to understand the Scrum, why it is doing this thing, and they have to ask something like an open question that why do you think it is happening such a way, and is there any way you can suggest to make it better? But one metaphor I want to give it to you. So some of you have an experience of living in an apartment, renting an apartment. Some of you have an experience of living in a house, and some of you have an experience of living in both, sometimes in life. So whenever you are renting an apartment, so if there is any problem, what you're going to do? You just make a call to the landlord. Okay, this thing is not working. My AC is not working. Can you please fix it? This thing is not working. My garage door is not working. Can you please fix this? And they will just come and fix this thing. But what is the situation? What is the situation if you are actually owning the house? Whom you are going to call? No one. You have to fix it yourself, because now it is your thing. This is an important thing. So for the Scrum team, make sure they understand they own the process. They not rent the process. It is not like when something is wrong, they always look for you or look for someone or look for Center of Excellence Committee, look for some management that, okay, we have a problem. Can you please fix this thing? Because it's a renting mode. Ask the development team that this is your baby. This is your process. One team to another team process can be various slightly because they modify the process as per their need that is suitable for them, and they will change it accordingly as per the teams mature, move on during the retrospective. So if they have that mindset that this is our baby, this is our process, that if there is any problem, they will try to fix it themselves.
What if they have a comfort zone and they don't want to leave their comfort zone? Although I'm talking about someone, although he or she is trying to make an environment where he can make better bonding with the team, but still one leader or one experienced person is creating a problem because he has some basic issues like some ego problems, or some because he has command and control mindset. So he somehow he is feeling insecure. So how to remove his insecurities actually, because that lead person is affecting the whole team.
Well, from the Scrum point of view, take a look at the second point here. Help people to develop and grow. You can do that part of things. Second part is that obviously you will educate, you will ask a question or a strong open-ended question that why you are feeling this thing. Is there anything we can make you to feel more comfortable and you are not anymore threatened? Maybe he has some perspective rather than just confront this thing. Just take a look at his point of view. And the second approach is let the team decide to solve the problem first.
Okay.
Sorry. Let the team to solve the problem themselves. So it is up to the team. You are not ordering the team. As a Scrum Master, I cannot order anyone in the team. I can only make a decision based on the people. So let the team decide. And if the team decided that this person is no more belongs to this team, then you can help the team to make that decision, but it is up to the team to decide. It is not up to the Scrum Master. And when one person is actually playing the role of both development team and Scrum Master, then it has become a conflict of interest, and it becomes a little bit difficult. And when one person is working on more than one team as a Scrum Master, then obviously they have like a who is you are loyal to, what is your priority. So these are actually, again, we are back to the origin, that's why there is a one Scrum Master dedicated to one team, but I'm not going to push that thing itself, because I know in real life that is not happen very often. But that is a problem. You have to help, you have to grow, you have to see what the other people are thinking, why they are threatened, why they have these type of things, and let the team to solve their problem themselves. Help them to solve their problem. And if they decided they do not belong to the team, let it be the team decision. Developer team, not a Scrum team.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll also add something here. I think as a Scrum Master, you can be open, very open with your team. Like you can ask questions if they have any issues with the new strategy, the Scrum strategy, or if they're comfortable with the current strategy which you guys are working with, and you can ask them what is the issue, what is the matter, why they're not comfortable with following Scrum. So like I think it would help that if you get open with them, they will give you answers, you will have some opinion. Okay, fine, you can work with the team together, and then you guys come to a solution that okay, this is what everybody has, these sort of issues, or this is what the difficulty that they are feeling in the new strategy. So I think as a team you guys can work together, but for that you have to be open with them. Like just don't keep it to yourself, or just don't feel like, oh, why would I ask the person, oh, he's getting rude or something like that. Just be open, ask him what's your problem, like what if you have any issues, if you have any ask him if he has any opinions, if he has any ways of doing or improving things. So just you guys can work together, and this is how, with the questioning and with the talking with each other, being more communicative, more collaboration, you guys can solve these things. Because it's very difficult when you're working with an organization, there are multiple people, different people from different mindset. It's really, really difficult to work with everyone. But yeah, the best thing is, in my advice, the best thing is to be open. Just talk to them. Tell them if you have any problems, just feel free to talk to you. Make sure they give you their opinions. You discuss your thoughts with them. And this is how you guys can solve this. It's the best approach to solve, just communication with the communication.
Yeah, I think so. Of course, openness and communication is the main thing. This is the starting point. So still having lots of arguments and counter arguments. So basically this question comes from somehow making them more positive about yourself. That's what he or she is trying to do. But I guess the person about which I'm talking about, he's seeing lots of problems within the process, within the team, within the work, within the communication. But he or she should have to be patient, because what I'm seeing him is
so
like,
you can ask that person what his problems are basically. So he should be able to tell you, okay, I'm not able to do this thing with the Scrum while I was doing this very efficiently in my previous approach. Like he can give you the correct answer or something like this. He should be open. He can give you a lot of examples. Okay, I was doing this before, and now you guys are asking me to focus on this new strategy, and I'm not able to do it well, stuff like that. So I think this will help you. You can have an idea what sort of mindset he has, what kind of difficulty he's facing, and then you guys can come up with an approach. You can tweak your Scrum or your strategy or something like that, so that everyone can fit into that strategy. Maybe this is one way of doing it. But
thanks for your
it
feedback,
depends.
and this is a really nice discussion. But shouldn't we apply Scrum on ourselves and apply and respect the time box, and we can follow up this thing?
Yes, definitely,
I'm
guys.
done.
Yeah, and I think we are over time right now. So, guys, thanks very much, Zishan. Really thanks, and for having this session. I think this is very important because we actually need to remove a lot of misconceptions in the market, and you must get some sense that how much challenges are there in the Pakistan market, because most of the things are lack of knowledge, and this is the reason that we are going to conduct these sort of sessions. But anyways, guys, thanks very much, Zishan. Thanks, Huma
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Nella.
Thank you, Mohsin. Thank you
Smart.
for inviting me. And thank you, Zishan, and thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks for
guys.
giving me an
Thank
opportunity.
you.
Thanks for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.